Hey guys, I'm back today and I thought I would go over some of my little tips and tricks for baking with kids. When I first started baking with my kids, it could be very frustrating. Now I know that when they're young, they just don't have the fine motor coordination to do some of the measuring things. So I'm just gonna share with you some of the adjustments I made, especially for when they're little. So that it's a more pleasurable experience. Now, I don't have it on today. We usually would start with putting on some music, which music makes everything better. I usually let the child that I'm working with pick the music. And I do only work with one child at a time. I used to try to bake with all three, and that doesn't work very well either. So we just take turns baking, and it's nice one-on-one time. Now, the first and foremost, most important tip is to prep. And prepping is what I call it. I don't know if that's a thing actually, but by prepping, I mean get everything out. So everything is already set out, your measuring cups, what you need, and I even usually do wet ingredients on that side, dry ingredients on the other, so that everything is ready and then I'm not going and getting things out and the kids are getting bored and distracted and messing with things, and then that gets frustrating. So everything is out, and if you have really littles, you can even put it into bowls and already measure it, because they don't have the fine motor coordination as they're really young to measure things out by themselves, and it becomes messy and frustrating. So you can even make it like a cooking show where they just kind of help you pour all the ingredients together, and they still feel like they're baking with you, and you can get harder and harder and having them doing more and more as you go along. So that's tip number one. Have everything prepped. You know, I even have my pan already ready and sprayed, because that's something that I'm baking with my 8-year-old today. That's something that I haven't given over to my 8-year-old, but I have to my 13-year-old to do. So then the second thing would be, you can use a hand mixer. I used one for years, and everybody used to tell me that the KitchenAid is the best thing. Well, I've had one for over a year now, and the KitchenAid is the best thing. So if you do not have one, Mother's Day is coming, and it is well worth it if you plan to do baking with your kids. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3, I'm gonna actually have my 8-year-old come in with me, and we are gonna demonstrate to you how to get flour out in a way that makes it a little less messy. The first step is actually to put it in a container besides the bag. I actually started out just trying to get it out of the bag, and that's super frustrating for a little one that's already having a hard time measuring out flour. So you put it in a bigger container. Right, Miles, if you wanna get up, and if they are up on a stool, that can actually be helpful too. I'm gonna bring it into the shop a little more. Because it's hard for them, like I even bring the container down so that they can dip down into it, because that helps them. So we're gonna measure out a cup. So I have my measuring cup. And then our second little trick, you can use a knife or anything like that, but we use like a cupcake icer. They're gonna dip in, so it goes lower than them. They hold it over the wide mouth flour, and then you can actually kind of help them get the excess flour off. And Miles, you can put it in here actually. It's our dry ingredient bowl. And way, way easier. So the little spatula, the bigger container, and all of a sudden flour is not everywhere, and that took me a while to discover all of that. All right, well, that's all I have for you. It's kind of simple tips, but it makes a world of difference. The music, the prepping, the KitchenAid, and the bigger containers for things like flour and sugar to make it easier for their fine motor skills to use. All right, that helps you guys with your baking time and that it's fun. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.